going on YouTube? What is going on, fellow fantasy people? And of course, what is up, the Catch fam? Today we are going to go over 2 roster changes made to my 20-man roster, as well as 5 defenses you need to stream or consider starting in week 1. So if you guys do find this video enjoyable or helpful in any way, go ahead and smash that like button, man. We are on the road to 100 subscribers here at the Catch, getting closer day by day. So go ahead and subscribe if you are new here, and of course, man, drop any comments below in regards to any fantasy questions or concerns that you guys are having leading up to week 1, and let me know what defense you guys are starting here in week 1. So let's hop right into it, man. So for my 20-man roster, let's go ahead and see if we can't pick up, or excuse me, pull up our comparison here. We are looking much better, as we are only within about 6 points in terms of comparison, in terms of projected points, right? So both of our waivers did go through. We dropped Gabriel Davis, and we were able to add Brandon McManus. So we do have a kicker in our lineup now. And then our waiver to drop Arizona's defense versus Tennessee also went through, and we have added the Carolina Panthers defense versus the New York Jets, excuse me. So let's hop right into a couple defenses to start, and let's kick it off with the defense that I went out and added to this roster, and that of the Carolina Panthers versus Zach Wilson in his first NFL start, right, in an actual NFL game. So we've seen some really good things out of Zach Wilson in the preseason. We know that in my 20-man league, for example, we are starting Corey Davis, and we really do want to start him. But this Carolina Panthers defense a little bit underrated overall, and I do think that they have the ability to go out and perform very well against rookie Zach Wilson, right? I do expect, some of those Jets offensive players to still have good games from PPR standpoints, but overall, man, take a risk on the Carolina Panthers defense. I don't really think you're taking too much of a risk overall. I think that they put up a pretty solid overall stat line from the defensive position, right? And then they've got a pretty good matchup here in week 2 versus Jameis Winston, right? And then in week 3, they've got another favorable matchup against the Houston Texans. So this is a pretty good play overall, as we have 3 pretty good streaming weeks overall. If you guys are new to streaming defenses, this just means that you didn't go out and draft the Baltimore Ravens or the Washington football team or the LA Rams, right? And you guys are switching out your defense based on offensive matchups week in and week out. That is what I like to do. It is a very successful strategy. You just have to keep up with it. So let's move on to the Denver Broncos, a team that didn't go drafted in all leagues, right? They are still a pretty high percentage, available on the waiver wires in most, 10 and 12 and 8-man leagues. And this is definitely a team that you guys need to be considering, as they are facing our guy, Daniel Jones, who we do want to be streaming against basically all year round. We know how much Daniel Jones turns the football over, and this is a very favorable week 1 matchup. And once again, similar to the Carolina Panthers, the Denver Broncos defense relatively underrated overall. So no problem whatsoever with starting these guys. Start them with full confidence, and then we look to week 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a new regime under a rookie quarterback. While I like the offense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm willing to bet against them to some degree, being that Trevor Lawrence is still young in his career. And then week 3, once again, facing that New York Jets offense as well. So this is a pretty good play for at least the first 3 weeks, as we do see some tougher matchups coming up after that. But nonetheless, the Minnesota Vikings, another team that are available in a lot of leagues, but also did go drafted in a lot of leagues as well. So it depends on if you're playing in an 8 or 10-man league. It is likely that they are available. If you don't feel confident in your defense at the moment, this is still a pretty good start against a Cincinnati Bengals team, which we do look to be much improved. We do look for Joe Burrow to be out there, but this is more of a play based on Joe Burrow coming back from injury and maybe just not being 100% and going out and making a couple of mistakes. I still think that the Bengals will have a pretty good offensive game overall, but I do think that once again, the Minnesota Vikings defense a little bit underrated this season, and I do look for them to make a couple of plays that could grant you some pretty good fantasy points from the defensive position. So I would consider starting the Vikings if they're available. And if you feel not so confident in the defense that you have at the moment, but if you went out and drafted the Vikings, then I think that you have a pretty good start for the week. But nonetheless, excuse me, you're probably not getting a very favorable matchup again until you face the Detroit Lions in October. But nonetheless, a good start for this week. So let's move into two sleeper streaming options, as I would call them. These are going to be two teams that if you absolutely fumbled at the position, you feel not confident whatsoever, then these next two teams should be available in a majority of leagues. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks, an abysmal defense last year from a fantasy perspective, and definitely not a defense that I want to trust throughout the season, as we also see some very, very tough matchups overall. But for week one, I think that this is a pretty solid streaming option, as we do expect Carson Wentz to be out for this game. Now, I do expect, their backup Jacob Eason to be able to put up some pretty good points, or from a fantasy perspective, be able to do some sort of damage, just because this Seahawks defense is very, very bad. And I do believe in the running game on this Colts team. And I do think from a passing standpoint, they at least have one or two viable options. So I don't expect this to be a blowout by any means, but I definitely do expect Seattle to cause some turnovers, being that they still have Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams leading this defense. I think that they can make a couple plays against a backup quarterback, right? So, I mean, we could get breaking news that Carson Wentz is going to start, but I highly doubt it. And I think that Seattle has a very good opportunity here in week one to kind of thrive off of that from a defensive standpoint. So this is a good kind of quote unquote sleeper option for your defensive position if you don't feel confident and you play in a deeper league, right? And you don't see anything on the waiver wire that is making you feel good. But nonetheless, this is just a week one stream. And after that, you would probably need to drop them, as they face some pretty good teams down the stretch. Not really any favorable matchups again until we see Jacksonville at the end of October. So definitely a week one stream. So speaking of Jacksonville, let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, another defense that was god awful last year. By no means am I saying that this is a good defense to keep on your roster, but they are playing the Houston Texans in week one. And don't get me wrong, that trio of Tyrod Taylor, Brandon Cooks, and those 17 running backs that they have on that squad can definitely do some damage to this Jacksonville Jaguars defense. But nonetheless, we have not seen Tyrod Taylor really play a full game in quite some time now, right? We haven't seen him play a full season in a very, very, very long time. And I'm relatively confident that whoever is on this Jacksonville Jaguars, very, very young defense, right, that, they are going to be able to come out and make some plays against a very bad Houston Texans offense. But don't get me wrong, I do think there are some playmakers within that Texans offense. But overall, I think if you have zero confidence in the defense that you went out and drafted, let's say you picked up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, and they are playing the Dallas Cowboys, and you're not comfortable with that matchup overall, right, then this is an option for you, especially in deeper leagues, as we can expect these Jaguars to make some plays against starting quarterback Tyrod Taylor, right? So I think once again, this is more of a absolute fumble at the position. If you don't have any confidence in the matchup you have this week, and you have no confidence in any of the other teams out there on the waiver wire, then this is at least an option for you facing that Houston Texans offense. So there you guys have it. Those are 5 defenses that I would start this week if you need a streaming option, as well as those 2 changes that we made to my 20-man roster overall. Let me know what you guys think of my lineup for this 20-man roster at the moment. I definitely appreciate the feedback, and I want you guys to be a part of my 20-man journey. So let me know of any concerns or any feedback you guys want to give me in the comments down below. And of course, like I said, let me know what defense you are starting in week 1, because I am definitely interested and want to give you guys any feedback that I can. And of course, man, go ahead and smash that like button if you guys found this video helpful or enjoyable. And as always, man, we are on the road to 100 subscribers here at the Catch. If you are new here, go ahead and join the Catch fam, and hit that sub button. Shout out to the Catch fam and all of our subscribers, man. We are gearing up for week 1. Make sure to stay tuned tomorrow night for my live stream of my live 12-man draft. And as always, man, I thank you guys for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch.